My mother spoke, and her smirk cut me down worse than any blade, declaring that I wasn't on the list. "It's merely a reunion," she said. "Don't read too much into it." In her flawlessly groomed hand, she held the invitation and flourished it like a banner of triumph while she sipped from her pristine white teacup. A reunion? Was that what she called my brother's engagement party, the one with 400 guests? The one that was all over Instagram, boasting rented chandeliers, champagne fountains, and a harp player from Prague? Regardless, I didn't show any reaction. "Not with her, not ever again." "I understand," I replied, nodding slowly, keeping my voice calm. "Well, I hope it's spectacular." "Oh, it will be," she snickered, lightly tapping my shoulder, making me feel like a confused little girl who had somehow stumbled into a grown-up scenario. "You've always been a little out of your element at these sorts of events, anyway." And with that, she left the room, softly singing to herself, acting as though she hadn't just set off yet another explosion in what had once been a relationship. Later that evening, I was seated at the small kitchen table in my small two-bedroom apartment, gazing at my laptop screen. The blinking cursor seemed to mock me. My fingers were poised above the keyboard. Then I began writing. The next morning, everything shifted. The sunbeams streamed across my face as I opened the door to pick up the mail. I wasn't really wearing anything, just an oversized hoodie with my hair haphazardly tied up. But what I saw outside made me freeze in my tracks. Microphones, cameras, and reporters. There were countless people with them, stretched down the street in front of my home, all yelling questions at me. "Were you the one who revealed everything? Why did you stay quiet until now? Did my brother actually say those things in the recording? Did my mother know? Are you planning to sue?" I was utterly bewildered and disoriented when my phone vibrated so intensely in my grasp that I almost dropped it. The screen lit up with notifications, all trending. Hashtag Ava Uncovered the Truth was everywhere. I clicked on one post. And there I was, caught in a shaky video from my social media, shown alongside screenshots of an anonymous exposé I'd written under a pen name that the internet had managed to trace back to me. The piece was called The Golden Sun and the Rotten Truth, revealing what the world doesn't know about him. It had become extremely popular. And my brother's photo? It was right next to an audio clip. His voice was undeniably his, laughing about the charity funds he'd taken from the Children's Cancer fundraiser to pay for his proposal party. I never meant to release a private recording, not ever, until that night. Until that arrogant smirk, 2 weeks before, I had watched him lie. To the donors, to his fiancée, to our entire family. At that family brunch, I listened to him boast about his swanky new villa as if he had some sort of business brilliance. But I knew what the real story was. I recalled the night he staggered into my apartment, completely wasted, and admitted he'd stolen heaps of money from the charity he helped manage. He used me as his sounding board because nobody else truly understood guilt like I did Ava. I'd always been the one who faded into the background, the shy, overlooked one, the sweet, creative disappointment. And I stayed silent. I never spoke about his fabrications, never told anyone about the night he struck someone and paid them off to keep quiet. I didn't say anything about my mother's involvement. However, after he gave me that smug look, something inside me broke, back to reality. As the media circus outside my front door grew in intensity, I went outside barefoot. I didn't utter a sound, not until I saw her. My mother, she was wearing expensive heels. Her face was white. Her lips were quivering. It wasn't anger, but pure desperation. As if she'd finally understood that the daughter she'd always ignored wasn't misplaced. I knew then that I'd been biding my time, and the time was now. I grabbed the microphone a reporter held out to me and looked straight at the camera. "My name is Ava Linton," I declared loud and clear, "and this is my story. Not his, not theirs, mine." The atmosphere changed. It felt as though the wind even stopped. I didn't flinch. And I wasn't finished. The camera flashes kept going even when I turned to leave. I wasn't okay, not after locking the door behind me. And not even when I slumped onto the hallway floor, my hands still trembling. I hadn't anticipated any of this happening. I'd only put that article out there because I had to survive, not to get even. But now, this thing had taken on a life of its own. I glanced at my phone once more. My inbox was completely overflowing. Journalists, lawyers, podcast people, and even famous people wanted to share my experience. I honestly couldn't figure out what scared me more. The spotlight or the fact that, for the first time in ages, someone was truly listening to me. And not just anyone either, everyone. But then my phone rang again, and when I saw who was calling, my throat closed up. Logan, my own brother. I didn't take the call. I simply couldn't, not yet. Instead, I stood up, went into the kitchen, and opened the lowest cabinet. Behind some old pots and stacks of cereal boxes was a red, dusty folder. I hadn't looked at it for almost a year. Inside were everything I had ever written down, screenshots, texts, and financial records I'd previously helped him sort through. Because Logan wasn't very good with computers, and I was the only person in the family who was skilled enough with Excel to make sense of those books. That's how I learned the truth, and that's why he never believed I would speak up. It was 2 years ago. "Don't be so over the top," he'd chuckled, dropping his wine glass on the couch like it was nothing. "It's not like the kids are going to die." "It's just temporary," he'd said. I just stood there, not moving. "You used the charitable donations to buy a Rolex," I thought. "I'll pay it back," he said. I just needed to look the part to get through the pitch meeting. "You understand how things work, Ava. How you look is really important. Nobody trusts a CEO who seems broke, but those donations were. Technically, they were in a fund that wasn't for anything specific, not for one single thing." He interrupted me, his eyes narrowed. "And if you're considering turning me in, don't even think about it. Do you imagine Mom would support you instead of me?" He wasn't incorrect. In those days, I kept my mouth shut. I always had kept my mouth shut, actually. But that particular night, something inside me just died. And something else began to develop. Present, my doorbell rang. I glanced through the blinds. It wasn't a reporter this time. It was a young girl. Maybe she was 11 or 12. She held a small paper bag and appeared frightened. I slowly opened the door. "Hi," I said. "Are you Ava?" she questioned, blinking up at me. "Yes," I replied. She reached into her bag and gave me a folded envelope. Then she turned and ran away. Inside was a note written by hand. "You don't know me, but my little brother was one of the children in the foundation," it read. "When the money stopped coming, we were kicked out of our home, but your story gave my mom the strength to speak out. Thank you for doing what nobody else would. Thanks for being courageous. Mia C." I read it twice over. Then a third time. My legs gave way, and I ended up sitting on the floor, tears spilling down my face. Because, for the very first time in my existence, being hidden had actually accomplished something. I had saved someone, not through confrontation, but by being truthful. Later that night, I finally answered Logan's fifth call. "Ava," he practically yelled. No greeting, just pure anger. "What in the world did you do? You completely messed everything up." There was no regret shown, no surprise at all. "Only fury. You won't be happy until you pull me down with you, will you?" He was filled with venom. "You're envious." "You always were." I gripped the phone hard, struggling to stay calm. "Envious of what, Logan? The deception, the deceit, or the fact that I fixed your problems and then got completely exiled because of it? Do you think this makes you the good guy?" His voice wavered. "Do you believe you're superior to me now?" "No," I responded quietly. "I think I finally remembered who I truly am. Quiet." Then he ended the call. 2 days later, the charity board released an official announcement to the public. The media coverage exploded. Official inquiries were declared. And still, the most difficult moment was yet to come. It showed up as a knock on the door. Not the press, not the cops, but her. My mother, she was standing there. Her Chanel coat was fastened, with her eyes concealed by sunglasses. "Can we have a conversation?" she asked. No trace of that mocking smile, no cup of tea. No triumphant display, just a mother who looked distraught. I opened the door. She walked inside as if she were entering someone else's home. "I raised you to be better than this," she started, her tone resolute but cracking. "There are private issues being made public. You've disgraced this family." I didn't say anything. "Your brother is now facing criminal charges. Your father was forced to call off his retirement cruise. Our family name is all over the place." I waited. Then I asked, "Why wasn't I included, Mom?" That threw her off. The engagement party? I wondered why I didn't receive an invitation." She paused, and then her eyes fluttered. "It was because you'd cause a scene. You're not precisely suitable for these sorts of occasions, Ava." That's what she said. The reality, the familiar truth. I stared directly at her. "You're implying I'm not manageable, right? That's what you were getting at." Her mouth opened slightly, then snapped closed, and in that instant I experienced a strange emotion. Compassion. Because the person who always controlled me, who could destroy my self-assurance with a look, seemed like someone desperately trying to hold onto a story that had lost its meaning. I regret it ended up this way, I murmured. Truly. But I didn't regret being honest. She turned quiet and departed, no farewell. Not even a backward look. The subsequent time my phone rang, I anticipated more scrutiny. However, the voice on the other end wasn't a journalist. It was her. "Hi, Ava," a gentle voice said. It was clearly anxious. "Familiar, this is Blair. Logan's future wife. The one I'd never properly encountered. The one whose image was all over bridal magazines and brand promotions, carefully crafted to be the perfect girl." My jaw tightened. "Why are you calling me?" I stumbled. Can we meet?" she pleaded. "Please, somewhere private." I didn't reply immediately. Her tone wasn't that of someone protecting Logan. It sounded altered. Burdened, as if she was bearing a truth she never desired to have. So I acquiesced. I found her at a random cafe, tucked away on the east side, away from any prying eyes. She arrived in a hoodie and dark glasses, acting like a person on the run, even though she was the soon-to-be wife of a guy who swindled a good portion of the state. When she settled into the booth, she didn't even bother to pretend to be happy. "I have to tell you something," she blurted out right away. "All right," I said, gesturing for her to continue. Blair rummaged in her bag and brought out a flash drive. "I know what he did. I have proof, and it's even more awful than you can imagine." My heart practically seized up. She leaned in close, her voice soft. "He didn't just steal the money. He transferred it into several hidden accounts. Under your name." I was stunned. "What? That's why your name was left off the guest list. Why your mom cut you off. They were setting up a trap." So if the truth ever came out, she choked back the words, I would be the one to take the blame. My gut twisted. When I got home, I opened the folder she had given me. It was password protected, called Truth Vault. Inside, there were spreadsheets, account numbers, internal documents. Everything showed me as the one in charge of these bogus shell companies. My digital signature was on the papers. It had my name, my emails, and even altered invoices that tied me directly to Logan's schemes. He had set me up. At first, the rage didn't hit me right away. It was a gradual process, just like being near a fire and not realizing you are getting burned until it's too late. I spent the night tossing and turning. I fixed my gaze on the ceiling, mentally replaying every little request Logan ever made of me, each task he had me take care of. Every signature I'd thought was a simple procedure. It wasn't simple at all. I was his backup. A gentle, non-threatening sibling, the creative one, the insignificant one. The ideal fall guy. I really should have lost it, bawled. Yelled, but I didn't. Instead, I got out of bed, powered up my laptop, and started writing again. But this time, I wasn't hiding behind anonymity. The second exposé went live at 8 a.m. He set up his own sister. The real story about Logan Linton. This time, I included the evidence, all of it. The forged signatures, the dates, the fabricated deals. And side-by-side screenshots showing how my signature had been stolen from old tax forms I'd submitted years prior. The plot was obvious. He orchestrated everything. Right down to the family reunion. Down to the precise instant they'd announce his engagement while stealthily removing me from the family just in time to destroy me. By lunchtime, the news was all over the country. And the reaction, instant. The feds opened an investigation, supporters pulled their funding. Sponsors abandoned him immediately, and the biggest shock, Blair, she spoke out publicly. With tears, during a national interview, she revealed not only Logan's deceit, but something I didn't know. He had threatened her. Threatened to reveal secrets about her family, her immigration status, whatever it took to keep her quiet. She truly said it all, and as she wrapped it up, she uttered a single line that's etched in my memory. "I often think I wish I'd found Ava sooner." Because she didn't just persevere despite her family, she actually made them answer for their actions. She's the most courageous individual I've ever known. I should have felt like I'd won. I should have been beaming, but the reality was I felt empty, because getting justice doesn't always bring celebration. Sometimes it just brings quiet, and in that quiet you're left contemplating the things that should have been. The brother I thought I had by my side. The mother I desired, the family I lost, but what I got instead, myself. And that was something nobody could take away. There was another ring at the door. I almost thought it was the FBI again. Instead, there was a woman, probably in her 40s, with kind eyes, holding a pile of books. "Are you Ava?" she inquired. "Yes. I run a local shelter for young women," she said, offering me a soft smile. "We aid teenage girls who have come from homes with abuse, and we have been reading your story every single day. These girls, they see you as a superhero." She presented the books to me. Each one had a note. They were handwritten. Crayons and glitter covered them. Little hearts adorned them. "I aspire to be like Ava one day." She spoke the truth even when it was tough. "Thank you for being brave for all of us." My throat tightened. My vision became blurry. I held the books tightly against my chest, and for the first time since it had all begun, I smiled. Not because of the cameras, not for anybody watching. But for myself. The courtroom felt freezing. Or maybe it was just the way I felt. I sat 2 rows behind the prosecution's table all alone. No family, no friends. It was just me. Logan was up front with 2 pricey lawyers on either side. He didn't give off that golden boy vibe anymore. His hair was a mess. His suit looked rumpled. He seemed diminished. Like he'd lost his luster, and what was left was only a sign of deterioration. The accusations against him were many. Wire fraud, charity fraud, tax evasion. Conspiracy, identity theft, each word was heavy. But when they included my name in the evidence, my insides turned. I, Ava Linton, the defendant's sister, had been set up to be the fall person for the wrongdoing. The jury looked at me when the prosecution presented their argument. And the only thing I could think was, this is what it feels like to be acknowledged. The crowd outside the courthouse was huge, protesters. Reporters, supporters, some held signs that read, "Believe her." Stand with Ava. I never imagined I'd be seen as a symbol, but I never wanted to be famous. I just wanted to be free. The night before the sentencing, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. I picked up without hesitation. "Hello," it was Ava, it was him. "Logan imprisoned, no longer allowed bail." Waiting for his sentence, his voice was rough, empty. "Why did you do it?" I asked. I wasn't angry, it was just a question. A genuine one. There was a lengthy silence. Then he whispered, "Because I didn't expect you to fight back." That was all. That was the whole explanation. He never considered me fragile. He saw me as quiet, and that was more upsetting. The following morning, the judge's words echoed through the room. The judge declared that Mr. Linton was to serve 16 years in a federal penitentiary. People inhaled sharply and cameras flashed. People covered their mouths, but I didn't react. At that point, it wasn't about retribution anymore. It was about letting go. Afterwards, the family group chat, which I hadn't looked at in ages, sprang to life. But no one apologized. Just complete quiet, except for one person, Grandma Linton. She sent me a text, a single statement that said, "I always believed you were the resilient one. I'm so proud of you, darling, keep glowing." I was overcome with tears when I read it. Because sometimes, one kind voice can be more significant than 100 that condemn you. 2 months went by. My circumstances didn't magically improve. I still occupied my small apartment. I still saw headlines bearing my name. However, something had shifted. It was me. I began volunteering twice a week at the shelter that had helped me. I led art therapy sessions for girls who had been silenced for their entire lives. The girls reminded me of my younger self. One day I arrived and saw a mural painted on the wall. About a dozen girls had collaborated on it. It was a phoenix emerging from flames. Beneath it, in untidy handwriting, it said, "She didn't burn. She rose." One day, as I put away my art supplies, a car I knew pulled into the driveway. It was Blair. She got out, no makeup, her hair pulled back, holding one envelope. "Hey," she said, sounding out of breath. "This came in the mail for me, but it was for you." I opened it with care. There was a check inside. 250 grand. It came from a legal firm. It seemed a class action suit against Logan's organization had been successful and reached a settlement. Since I'd played a role in uncovering the truth, I received compensation as a whistleblower. I was stunned, staring at the document. Blair smiled. What would I do with it? I gazed out at the girls playing in the shelter's yard. Something positive, I murmured, something genuine. Half a year later, my home had transformed. It had evolved into something more significant. It was a place where wounded girls met every weekend to learn how to express their anguish creatively, where the sound of joy often filled the porch, where healing didn't need flawless execution, only endurance. I called it the Firebird Project. This place was a hub for art, counseling, and sharing stories for girls who had endured hardship. These were girls who had been ignored, diminished, and silenced. It was just like my past. One afternoon, a girl named Serenity came in. She was 14, cautious. She avoided eye contact. She remained quiet in the first few days, but I noticed how tightly she held her pencil as she sketched. It was as if she was clinging to something intangible. Then on the third Saturday, she quietly presented me with a drawing. It depicted a girl. She was standing proudly. She was alone, but she was also resilient. Beneath the image she had written, "She looks like you." Under the darkening sky that evening, I found myself on my porch, gazing at the sun as it painted the heavens with hues of orange. This very porch was where I'd previously sat, weeping discreetly, secretly hoping someone out there would notice me. Now, it felt like the people I had supported had somehow woven bits of their spirits into the very fabric of this space. And as for myself, I was no longer unseen. I was like a guiding light. The constant stream of news eventually shifted focus. Logan's name was no longer plastered across front pages. New controversies took his place. New, more sensational headlines demanded attention. But I remained unwavering. I didn't seek fleeting popularity. Instead, I was constructing something that would endure. One day, after returning from a lecture, I realized something was peculiar. Reporters were gathered outside my gate once again. A woman approached me, microphone in hand, but this time her manner wasn't confrontational. "Miss Linton, I apologize for this intrusion," she said. "We were just wondering, have you seen the viral post circulating today?" I furrowed my brow. "No." "What is it?" She gave me her phone. The screen displayed a video. It was Logan. Appearing from prison, leaning close to the camera during a visit, he appeared aged. More severe, and yet in some way more relatable. "I don't anticipate being forgiven," he murmured. But if I could rewind time, I wouldn't only correct my actions. I'd tell my sister how much strength she truly possessed, and that I see it now. All of it, I see her. The comments section was filled with diverse viewpoints. Yet I only read a single comment. Ava didn't merely expose a falsehood. She became authenticity itself. I didn't shed tears. I didn't crack a smile. I simply stood there silently, feeling something unfamiliar nestle within me. It's all about inner peace, you know. It wasn't because he changed, it was all me. A final letter came a month after that. It was from my mom. There was no way to write back to her, no expression of regret either. Just a few words on a basic white card. "You were correct, I apologize." No name at the bottom, just those simple words. I put it in a small box, the one for stuff I'd rather leave behind. I didn't light it on fire. I didn't make it a showpiece. I just let it sit there. Because you don't always need to dig up the past. Some hurts only need to be recognized. A year later, the Firebird Project took off across the country. We set up locations in 5 different states. Donations came in from people who had been through similar things, well-known people and schools. I gave speeches at various meetings, sharing my experiences. Not because I wanted sympathy, but for the sense of empowerment it gave me. And everywhere I went, I noticed her. The shy girl sitting in the back. The one who felt out of place. The one who thought she had to work for love and belonging. The one who felt like being quiet was the only way to survive. I saw myself, and I told her they were wrong about you, every single one of them. You're not weak, you're not strange, you're not invisible. You're a work of art, you're like a flame, you are more than enough.